started.
Welcome to another unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with Queen Raae. I'm your host, Captain Olav Ea, and this is the pirate princess Lillian 7. Vink, vink. And today's tiny task is banana.
Today's tiny task, we are simplifying some code for our Gatsby Source YouTube OM-Blad plugin because I realized that createNodeId from Gatsby is deterministic. I had an inkling. I asked Vart about it on our show last week, and he said, yes, it is deterministic, which means with the same input, you will always get the same output. So we do not need to keep, I kept an internal record of the YouTube ID and the Node ID around for our caching. That is not needed, so we're going to simplify the code in today's tiny task.
Okay. Nei, det er nok. Ok, det var dårlig gjort av meg, men sånn er det noen ganger. Ja, that's good. Ok, hoppe på plassen din.
Boing, boing, boing.
Boing. But what have you been up to this week?
What have I been up to this week? I have been working on the new POW site that you started.
Yeah.
Because we are moving the POW site, marketing site over to Gatsby. So that's what I've been working on today.
What a coincidence.
This week, what a coincidence.
We're moving it to Gatsby. What a coincidence.
What a coincidence. That is crazy news for us. I mean, we do like Gatsby. So,
can you see there's something weird in my tie today?
I right now I'm looking at some code trying to
okay.
Oh,
well, then don't
I can see it. I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah. What's wrong? What's wrong with your tie?
It's behind here.
Why is it behind there?
Because that's how I put it on. I always have it behind when I put it on, and then. But this Sunday or some Sunday, I looked back at my video and I was like, wow, I had the tie backwards the whole show. Because nobody noticed, because it was, I was doing the show alone, and so
nobody was noticing that you
but you didn't notice either, did you? So it's not
well, I was watching you on the tiny screen from the hairdresser.
Yeah, that's right.
Folks might see. Where's my hair gone?
No. I had this tie the right way that time because Jen saw it.
Oh, okay. But Which episode did you have the tie?
What do you have around your neck? And I was like, my tie. Wait, no.
No.
Yeah.
So I was gonna show our POW site, but I think I messed up my branches a little bit here. Yes.
Okay, but I have it here, so I'll just do it.
Let's check out SEO. I've been working on SEO this week, so let's run that one.
But I'll do it. I'll share it. I don't care.
If you go to the POW, I just went to the POW Netlif on our POW site building on Netlify, and there's something wrong with the images in the YouTube embed.
I know. So I think I'm sharing. No, why didn't I share it now? Yes, I'm sharing it now. Look at me. I did it. Yes, I did it. That was very hard to kind of share just a Chrome window, but I did it. You mean that these images here?
They're black.
You're talking about this here?
Yes, because they are supposed to be, they're supposed to be, and it worked locally. And I thought it worked also on when I checked out I checked it out while working, and then I just saw now that it's been broken. But so to create these little tiles here for some YouTube videos, we are using the YouTube the Gatsby Source YouTube OEmbed plugin, where you don't need to have an API key, and we're just calling out to the YouTube OEmbed endpoint to get information about the YouTube videos, and we're using that in our POW site, and we're also using that as our kind of plugin to learn more about plugins. It's very meta in some of these streams. So we'll not be working on that image problem on the stream, but we will try to simplify some code. But it could also be because I think maybe I broke something in some kind of upgrade I did to that plugin. So we'll just have to kind of see what's up. But today we are focusing on, yes, and then I've been traveling all over the place these last couple of weeks, and next week I'll be in New York and Minnesota. So if you are in New York or Minnesota, I would love to meet up with you. Let me know, send me a DM, send me a comment here or in the chat, wherever, reach out. I would love to hang out. And then when I'm back from the States, we will get this Gatsby site thoroughly into production on usepow.app. Hopefully tomorrow, actually, which is my last day in Europe for quite some time. But yeah, say hi in the chat if you're hanging out. Okay,
yes.
Let's do some coding then.
Wait. Did you remove my screen? I'm not watching, sorry.
No, I did not. I can remove your screen, and then I'm going to share my own screen. And I managed to build our site where these images are actually showing. So we'll have to do some, because what we did last week with Vart, I'm going to share my screen then. We added, now it's not allowed to, it's like Mac is giving me new, okay, there, I'm allowed. No, Chrome has lost permission to capture your screen. Okay, so
that was me.
That wasn't you. I don't know why, but Chrome has suddenly lost its rights to stream in the way it's always done.
What do you mean?
Okay.
What do you mean?
So there are, on the Mac, there are permissions that need to be given to share screen, and that it's not allowed anymore.
Sorry about that. I need to read this.
Hey, but you guys have fun, because I have to now restart Chrome to be allowed to stream. So I'll be back in a bit.
Hi, just hanging out. And pirate flag, do you see my pirate flag, John? Yeah, maybe you've seen it before. You have. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm just hanging out too. Okay, Lilian, kom her da. Bli med på TV-en. Vi på storskjermen. Kom. Det lov å være sint. Kom opp her da.
Hvorfor det?
Lilian is a little bit angry. Hvorfor du sint, Lilian?
Den vil ikke funke.
It's not working. That's right. Å, det Paul, Lilian! Se her Paul. Paul sier ahoy!
I am back. Okay, so I got to add that to the pre-stream standard operating procedures. Make sure that Chrome hasn't lost its rights. Have there been some Chrome updates I haven't been told about? Hopefully it works. Okay, so I'm going to mute you guys if... the new version 100 could be full of issues. Yeah, I've heard about that.
You can't read John out like that.
Well,
that's not John's voice.
I'm so sorry. I thought you were busy with the princess. So
well, yeah, there are princess. I can handle princesses. Maybe your Chrome version is the new version 100. Could be full of issues. You know what, John? Didn't Vart say that? He said it on our last Thursday show. He said that.
I think so, yeah.
And he said there would be a lot of performance goodies. That's what he said.
Yeah, but I think also, but did he mention that? But somebody mentioned like version, no, that was probably on Twitter somewhere, when versioning kicks over into like versioning land that nobody expected, then there might be problems. So
Bart said that there would be some performance goodies, and you were like, yeah, and you just kept
Yeah.
moving along.
that sounds like me. That sounds like me.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so I kind of wanted to show, now that we're off anyway, I wanted to kind of show something I did here this week that I found kind of good, which is how I hooked up our where's our content? There's our content, our index. And you see here we have these sections, and I just referenced some YouTube IDs here. And then we have 3 in this section, and then we have 1 in this section.
You know
But
what?
I don't.
That really threw me off. I always. Okay, I always try to replicate this. I work on this PAL side too, but when the Queen does something, I always try to replicate it on my own website to try to make it work. And this stuff here, that stuff shows up in the GraphQL query, and I was like, man, where are these videos coming from?
So they're manually put in here so that we get the kind of and here I even added like an override. But so this is a way to use the videos that we're sourcing with our YouTube, with our Gatsby source YouTube OEmbed plugin. Because there, if you remember, we can configure which videos we want to source information about. So here we could have like 100 videos, and then in different sections we could reference different videos without having to go through and source them again. And the way this is all connected in the GraphQL is that little trick that Vart again reminded us of last time. Because if we go to our Gatsby node now and look at the create customized schema,
relationships. You made relationships. Yeah,
I said now.
Would you say that they're kind of married, or is it more like a sister relationship?
I would say it's more of a loose connection. So we're saying
so
here that we
dating. It's dating.
We have some YouTube videos over here, and we have this front matter over here, and then we connect them on the ID. So we're saying,
no. Is it dating? Is it dating?
I guess we're marrying them for the time for this build.
No, that's not marriage. That's dating. It's a one build kind of date thing.
Yes. So we are saying here that take the ID here, the ID that would be from. So we say from ID, and then we should link it to the YouTube node on the YouTube YouTube ID.
No, you lost me there. Take it again.
So we go to our GraphQL.
Hey, I didn't follow that from by thing. Oh, you're going to show me now. Okay.
So if we go to our YouTube videos, we have...
Man, no, I have to say something. Paul has a comment here. It's very important. Like a one-night stand kind of relationship.
Kind of, for one build and one build only. Cheeky. So if we go to our markdown, and then we look at the front matter sections, we now have a videos or YouTube IDs. Didn't I have? No, videos. Yes. So
video.
ID.
Where's the relationship? Is that the ID there? No.
Yes. So let's go back to our.
Yeah. Was it the parent that is the relationship?
So we have
you
IDs.
Can't date your parents. That's not good.
So we have videos here, and each video can have an ID and an action field. And then we say, okay, in this, we're not actually saying on the front matter, but we're saying in front matter section videos, which is kind of this list. Without what we're doing here, it would be basically this information. It would be just an ID that is a string and an action that is a string. But since we're saying here, let's use this ID. So we're saying that the from should be replaced with information from the YouTube node, and we're going to match it to this YouTube ID. So we're saying that the ID here, our ID on the section front matter section videos, we're saying that this ID should be matched up to the ID that we have on our YouTube nodes, and then they kind of should be take all that information about the YouTube node and put it instead of or in addition to this ID information that we have here.
I don't get it. Are you adding them together? What are you actually doing?
Let's say we remove this now, and maybe it makes more sense. And I have to rebuild.
Because I remember we did this with Vart, but on the YOLO section.
Yes. So George is asking, what are we doing today? So now we are following.
No, let's do it.
We are supposed to do, I want to finish this though, but we're supposed to simplify our some of our code now that we know that createNodeId is deterministic. But I was just going to show off some fun work I did for the POW site.
It's very relevant with what you do now, because when you did this in the YOLO section that you're showing now on screen, that's when you asked him, so are they deterministic, these ideas? And then Bart said, yeah. And he was, he looked like he was a little proud of that. I think so. He was like, they're deterministic.
Okay, so I'm trying to get this to run. So now I'm going to show, I'll show it again. So in our index, we have this concept of sections. And then on a section, you can have all kinds of things, but you can have a list of videos that can have IDs in action. And if we do nothing to our schema, it will show up as a list of videos with an ID field and an action field. And that's what I'm trying to show now, if things don't like break on the way. But then when we link things in our create schema customization, we can actually get all the information about the videos into our section, in our remark section. But let's see. Hopefully it's gonna bundle. It's gonna bundle. And hopefully this will make sense, because I'm trying to, it's hard to explain. We need to come up with some visuals, Ola. You kind of say, let me think.
Visuals, I love it.
So we kind of say, we want, instead of giving the section all the information about the videos, we're only giving it the ID. And then Gatsby, we're asking Gatsby or the GraphQL layer to say, okay, look at this ID and find the YouTube video that has this ID, and then replace it with all the information we have about that video.
Okay, so you're just using the idea to get the video in a way.
Yes.
But it's not in the normal way. It's in the relational kind of way. But is it parent down there that I'm seeing? Because if it's
parent isn't interesting in this. Yes.
It's not that. Okay, so it is like dating. It's dating.
Yes. So if you have a look at our schema now, when I removed all of our customization, you see that we have a video list, and all it has is an action key and an ID key.
You know, it's not dating. Because what you're saying is that you have the ID here, and then suddenly the whole video shows up.
Yes. So you're saying, you're using this as a reference. So we're saying, okay, take this and find the video that corresponds to this ID, and then add all that information here, so we don't have to go ourselves and find that information. We can then just do videos. We can just do video.title, because we're getting that title from the YouTube node. And we're saying link it from ID to by YouTube ID. And that's the way we're linking our remark nodes with our or our front matter video with our YouTube. You know, so if I now take this back,
I have a visual now. Are you ready?
Yes.
I know this very well, because it's from the pub when I used to go out with one of my boys, Martin G, and the other boys, but he was so it's like you're at the pub. Yes. And then you're at the pub with Martin G. And then he doesn't want to go up to any girls. He wants the girls to come to him.
Yes.
Yeah, but the girls never do that. Okay. They never do that. Yeah. So then, would walk up to them and I'd say, hello, how you doing? And they'd be like, yeah, I'm okay. You know, you should go over and talk to that guy over there, Martin G. I'm just giving the ID here. You know, that's the idea. Martin G. Go, and then they take the ID. Oh, Martin G. And they go over and they say, hey, are you Martin G? And then they get a whole package with the video and everything.
I like it. Yes, because it's a reference, right? You say, check out Martin G, and then they have the reference, and they go find Martin G, and then they can take him home for the night.
It's great.
This is getting out of hand.
It's great because instead of Gatsby having to date all these girls first, they can just have a, you know, or wait a minute.
Gatsby has all the information. The Gatsby data layer is the pub.
But you don't have to.
But then.
Yeah, that's good.
The tavern, the Gatsby tavern, that's a data layer. And then you're like, oh, we have Martin G over here. Yeah. And now, like, you say there's like a reference to a girl, and then the pub brings the girl and then Martin together. Or something like that. We'll work on this metaphor, but let's go back to our code. And
I would say one thing though. Martin G is married now, so this is not going on any longer. Okay, this is a long time ago.
This was a story. That was story time. Do you know there is a? You might not know this, Ola, but there is a whole YouTube genre called story time, where you kind of sit down and tell these kinds of stories.
Hey, John. Yeah, I mean, Paul has. Don't mix up John and Paul because the voice will be all wrong. Okay. I'm a Martin G lookalike. Will I still get the girl?
And George is enjoying our stream. And thank you so much, George, for the shout out on Twitter. That was awesome.
Yes.
So back to the topic at hand. If we remember,
where Nessa is. Where is he, Nessa?
I don't know. Maybe he's working now that he has he's studying and has a job and everything. Like there's lots going on.
That's true. He has a lot going on.
So if we remember back to before Ula's story, I had removed all of this information where we're linking. We're doing this linking, and then we only had the action and the ID field on videos, but now we also have a child YouTube. So what I'm saying is that let's add a field here. So we had action ID, and then we're going to add child YouTube, and you're going to use the ID as the reference, find the YouTube node, and then put that YouTube node onto child YouTube.
Yes.
So I could have replaced the whole ID, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep the ID. I wanted to keep the action, but then I also wanted to add all the information about the video. And I called it child YouTube because I've seen like Gatsby uses that a lot with like child remark and child sharp. So if we now expand on child YouTube, we actually have all of that information that we got back from OEmbed and the thumbnail and all of those things.
Oh, John, that's a long one. This is great. Look at this. Sorry, I got distracted. I didn't hear what you can. I'm doing John. Is it okay?
Yes.
Wow, look at this. This is the longest John I've ever gotten. This is great. Okay. Okay. If the YouTube videos queried change up, does that mean that the markdown file will need to be manually updated? Can a markdown file use variables? This, hands up, this might be more like blind dating.
Ooh, we're getting I'm not 100% sure if I understand the question, so just ask again if I'm not answering it. In our markdown, we can reference any video, any YouTube node that exists in the data layer. So if this BK1 doesn't exist anymore, if we don't source it anymore and it doesn't exist in the data layer, we will get a null here. Instead of on child YouTube, it would just be empty. I think like if I make something up, we'll see what happens. If I make something up,
I know what you need to say
now. ID.
I know what you need to say, because yes, it's true. If there is something wrong, then you have that in the front end code. If it's null, then you have this thing. This thing. Show them that.
But I'm just going to see if it happens. Let's see. Test.
It happens to me all the time, and I have problems in the build. And I try to build the stuff you want me to build. Yeah.
Yeah, but let's show it instead of showing it in the front end. We could show it here. So I just added an
Okay.
ID now that doesn't exist. ID test ID. So there is no YouTube node in the data layer with the ID test ID. So it goes over to all of the YouTube's nodes that we are getting up first here. You know, and it checks, is there a YouTube node with that ID, YouTube ID? No, none of these are test. So when it then tries to add that to child YouTube, it gets null because there is no video that is in existence.
Yes.
As long as there's one video that is in existence, everything will work. But if none of them solve to a video, then there will be some errors in your GraphQL query because there will be all of them will be null. But as long as one of these child YouTubes have the correct information, you will be good.
Is that because you're mapping over it? No.
No, that's because of like type inference or whatever it's called, where as long as there is there's one value for child YouTube, then the GraphQL layer can kind of infer what should be the like children.
Okay.
Or we could define it and then it would also know. But
yeah,
this is getting like, we'll do a lot more of this in future videos because Ola and I will be specializing in source plugins.
Yes.
So if your startup needs a source plugin, let us know.
Hey,
not startup. If you're old school company that needs to connect to an old school data source, let us know and we can fix that too. Okay, should we head on into what we were supposed to do today? Or should we just rename this video and call it a day?
I wanted to show that. Let's do what we should do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's remove this. So hopefully that answered your question, John. So let me know if that didn't answer a question. We can get back to it in the next YOLO section, because let's do the code that we were supposed to do. So head on over. If you read my email that came last night, this is what I was working on last night, and we'll try to redo it today. And hopefully I managed to do it correctly when we do it today. So let's check out main again and let's do it once more.
Yes.
Let's make a new branch stream for what we're doing on this stream. And then let's head on into the code.
Yes.
So here we have our code. So if you're not familiar with this code, it's going to be weird because I'm not going to go through all of it again. But we are creating YouTube nodes. And for each YouTube node, we want to fetch the information from the OEmbed endpoint. And I guess I'm doing that. Not even where am I doing it? Like I need to know my own code.
Say it again. I was distracted. What are you looking for?
On create node. Yes. Here in my source node. So in my source node, I'm sourcing all the nodes and I'm doing lots of things. I am asking for I am doing some caching, and then if nothing is cached, I'm asking for the OEmbed data. And then I am creating a node with that OEmbed data. But since calling out to the YouTube OEmbed API, every time I want to source, like, you know, when you're working, especially in development, you keep doing like yarn develop or Gatsby develop again and again, and you don't really need to fetch the latest information from the YouTube OEmbed endpoint because it's pretty certain it hasn't changed. And of course, with only 4 videos, it's not that big of a deal. But if you're going to source like a bunch of videos, it's going to take more time. And if we are lucky in our example here, where we're in our example plugin here, and our teachable pedagogiska. Anyway, in our Gatsby source YouTube OEmbed plugin, we don't need an API key, but say we're calling out to another API that had an API key and there was limits, you might want to limit the times you're calling out. So I think 2 weeks ago, we did some caching where we are saying that, okay, let's use the YouTube cache and check if there is any information or if we've already fetched the data for that YouTube ID. And then we got that YouTube cache, and that cache was actually a timestamp and the existing node ID. Then we're getting the existing node, and we're getting the existing node age. And then we're saying if there is a node and the node age is less than the refresh interval, we should touch it so that it stays around and doesn't get thrown out by Gatsby. or if it's new, we create a totally new node. But what I realized here is that get or create node ID, which we are doing inside of our else, that is deterministic, which means that if you put the same information into create node ID, we're going to get the same information out. So I don't really need, so what I'm kind of doing with my cache here, I am using the YouTube, like the YouTube original, all these things are popping up. We're using the ID of the YouTube on YouTube. So kind of like the original ID for the content. I'm using that as my cache key. And then I'm saving both an existing node ID, which we're doing down here after it's created, and the timestamp. But what I realized is I don't really need to, like, don't need to maintain a relationship between the original YouTube ID and the node ID that Gatsby creates. I can just use the node ID because it will actually result in the same ID every time I give it the same information.
I have a question.
I think I have. I'm just going to read this because I put that in the email. The official definition of deterministic is a deterministic algorithm. It's an algorithm that, given a particular input, would always produce the same output. So as long as we are giving it the same YouTube ID and we don't change this like YouTube little prefix I have here, the YouTube node ID will always be the same given the same YouTube ID. So I'm just doing lots of code that I didn't need to do. So let's simplify that. Okay.
And then I have a question then. So is that the reason why Vart was a little proud when he answered that? Because they set this Gatsby thing up so that it should be easy for you to just do your own thing, independently of YouTube and all their data stuff. Just get it in and just do your own thing inside of Gatsby data layer and everything.
Yes, and also what is fascinating with create node ID and why you want to use it instead of just kind of creating your own. We could have just created our own ID, right, with YouTube like that. But then we are not sure that it's truly unique. If another plugin, if you have two YouTube plugins for some reason installed, or another plugin that follows this same pattern, they wouldn't be unique. It would be deterministic, but it wouldn't be unique. But using create node ID, Gatsby ensures us that it will be unique and deterministic. So it's actually adding some more information in here. It's adding information about the plugin so that like these IDs will then be unique like in the global data layer, because it also adds in some information about the plugin name. Yes, I'm repeating myself. Did you want to read it?
You seem to be repeating yourself in code. And you know what Vespos calls that? It's then your code is not dry. Your code should be dry. And
why is it called dry? Do you want to spell that out or say that out loud?
I don't know.
Dry is don't repeat yourself. DRY, dry.
Oh, okay. Well, I love acronyms. That's a good one.
The thing is, I have dyslexia and I can never remember arbitrary combinations of words or letters, so I have to know what they are actually meaning.
So I have to say something. Yes, and also if you do like dry, which actually means something, then you can make fun of it. And in your head and remember also. So I need that. I need that it means something real, but I also need that the word itself has a meaning. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm doing now is that instead of saving kind of both information about the node ID that we created and the timestamp, I'm deciding only to save the timestamp to the cache. So I need to change that down here. So let's set, and we are now then using our YouTube node IDs as the key because we know that it's going to be the same. And then all we need to have here is the timestamp, and it needs to be a string. So we put it into a little, string interpolation or whatever it's called. So here, when we have created a node, we set a cache value with the key, the YouTube node ID, and then the timestamp, and then we use it before creating a new one. We await and we get it as a timestamp. Then we check. We try to get the we try to get the existing node for that YouTube node ID. So if there isn't already one created, it's not going to exist. But if there is one created, it's going to exist. So that's going to be the existing node. And then this will be like not a number if something goes wrong, but that's okay because we're first checking to see if there's an existing node. And then we don't need this like split ASCII that I just put in there. So I can delete all of that. I can even delete that comment that told us why we did that hack, which is great. So let's see if this is correct. We have a YouTube node ID. We are creating it. We use it as the key. So now we're getting it. So if it's not been created already, there would be no timestamp, but we can also check to see if there's an existing node. So we try that. We then try to calculate the existing node age by using the timestamp. And I want to do this existing node get node because in case it's been kind of garbage collected in some way, if Gatsby has thrown it out for some reason, but the cache is still around. So even if there's a timestamp in the cache, if the node doesn't exist anymore, I want to recreate it. So that's why I'm checking, does it exist? And also check if it's like old or not. Okay, let's see if this code runs. And if anybody has any questions about this code, please ask. If you want to check it out on GitHub, you can do that as well. If you want to look at it, there is a pull request up from yesterday that you can have a look at if there is some specific questions you want to ask. No story time for the building?
I was a little distracted. Lilian wants to ask something. Okay, Lilian, what do you want to say? Yeah.
Oh, and Paul has added the aha. Avoid hasty abstractions.
So, you're going to the States, but you were recently in Athens looking for a sword for Lilian.
Yes, I was. But it didn't fit in my little hand luggage. Or it didn't fit in my check-in luggage, and I didn't really want to test bringing a sword in my hand luggage, if that makes sense.
But I wanted it made of wood, and then if it just slid straight through the beep beep. Oh, when they walk you through and they beep you, you should have had it inside your dress, and they'd be beeping you, and then you come out on the other side, you'd be like pulling it out, and you're like, suckers!
Oh, funny story though on that regard. When Lillian and I went to London, did I tell this story the last time? Yeah. I'm gonna tell it again. So she had packed her own bag, her own hand luggage, a little backpack with like different things she could entertain herself with on the trip. And we get through security, and her bag is like, sidetracked to special inspection, and they tell me there's scissors in here, and I'm like, no, there's no scissors in there, and they're like, yes, there's scissors in there. So apparently she had put scissors in there because she likes, that's a way for her to entertain herself, cutting paper and stuff like that. And it's these little like children's scissors, and I asked her like, did you pack it? And she's like, yes, I didn't know. Of course she didn't know. I never told her you're not allowed to bring scissors onto the plane. And the security guard looked at her, and he was like back and forth, and then they were like, the security guards looked at each other. And then they took the little like edge, I get the knife edge of the scissor, and measured it on like this little card he had hanging around his neck. And he took it up and he measured, and I could see that it was definitely like 4 millimeters longer than the allowed limit. But then he and the other security guard looked at each other, and they were like, yeah, no, it's fine. And they just pretended that it didn't go over the limit. So Lillian was actually allowed, contraband onto the plane, which is super interesting.
But now your build is finished, but I have a follow-up story after.
Yes. Okay, my build is finished, so I'm gonna show that. So it worked like expected, because the first time we ran it, you said we created YouTube nodes, and then the second time around we touched our YouTube nodes, which means that we skipped all of this fetching here. So we've simplified our code because we now can trust that createNodeId is deterministic. I had an inkling. I tried to test it out and kind of got lost in trying to make this work when I did it the first time around. But then we asked Wart on stream last week, and he said, yes, it is deterministic. Now I've told everyone on the email list, so we all know it is deterministic. and why I actually decided to make an email about this, because I thought, maybe like I'm the only one that didn't know this. But I actually saw one of the another source plugin in the wild that also didn't kind of trust that the createNodeId was deterministic, or I think they didn't use it. So they also kind of cached a little bit of an original content ID and the node content ID. They kind of made that little reference thing dance that I also had done in this plugin. So I thought like, hey, this is information that more people need to know if they're going to make their own source plugins. And I felt less stupid seeing other people having made the same mistake as me. Now I should just stop talking. Are you trying to talk, Ola, because you're muted?
Why is not deterministic? Why is actually to keep your code dry?
Yeah, I would say here it's kind of like, because we didn't really repeat ourselves in the code, but we made overly complex code. We like recreated things in our code that Gatsby already does. So I guess like, yeah, it's drier, but just simplified.
Okay, so it's not dry, but you were adding more data.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the reason. That's the why.
Yes.
Were you adding more data? Yeah.
No, but I was adding code that didn't need to be. I was coding things that didn't need to be there.
So we weren't slowing down the build.
No, we weren't slowing down because we're doing all of this so we won't slow down the build, especially in develop.
All right.
But I have a little YOLO proposition, because
oh man,
after working on this yesterday, I was like, wait a minute, do I really need this timestamp in the cache? Could it just not be on the node? Because as long as I don't make it a part of the digest, because that they're only one to use the data. So because if the data changes, the node has changed. But we could maybe save this timestamp on the node that was created instead of using the cache, like polluting the cache with data. But I'm not 100% sure if that would work. Are people up for some YOLO? Do you understand what I'm talking about at all?
Say the what? Say the what again?
So we are saving here, when we've created a node, we're saving the timestamp to the cache, and then we are calling the cache with the YouTube
Are you going
node
to
ID.
simplify even more?
I am thinking we might be able to simplify even more if there's something I haven't thought about.
So the what is simplify the code even more, and the why is not deterministic this time. It's something cache.
Yes, it is. Maybe we can use the node that we're creating anyways and add the timestamp, because that timestamp could be interesting in the front end too, to be like, okay, when did we actually fetch this embed data?
Okay, so the what is simplify the code, and the why is
the why?
Yeah.
The what is simplify the code. The why is, again, no, I guess the what is to not use the cache, and the why is to simplify the code even more.
Okay, let's go.
So let's see if that works. So I don't want the timestamp in the cache anymore. I want it on the node. So let's put it there.
Oh,
and then we...
How do I do emojis in John voice? YOLO.
YOLO. Okay. So when we are creating a node, we're adding a timestamp to it. I feel like nodes should have an internal timestamp. Paul, do you know if there's an internal timestamp on nodes?
I feel that too. I feel that. Can we just check graphical?
But anyway, no. Now we're gonna YOLO my thought, and then we can.
Oh, you're asking should we put it in internal? That's what you asked.
Yeah. No, I'm asking if all nodes already has a timestamp, but maybe not.
Can't you find it in graphical?
Okay, so we are gonna then get our check if there's an existing node, and then the node age would then be the existing node if it exists. So let's put a little question mark, timestamp. So existing node age. So first we're checking if there exists a node, and if the existing node age is less than the refresh interval. Node already exists. We touch it. and then they will keep the same timestamp from before, which we want. And if not, we're going to create a new node. But onCreateNode will only be called if the actual content digest has changed, because we only want it onCreateNode to be called if the digest has changed, because then the thumbnail might have changed. But we don't want the thumbnail stuff to happen every time we create a node, only if it results in the changed node. Whew! So I don't want to put the timestamp into the digest here, because then we would actually kind of create a new node every time. Okay, let's see if this works. If this makes sense. This makes sense in my head, so
Good.
let's see if it...
Let's do it.
On
Yeah.
the first round, it should then create all of the nodes, because created all of the nodes, because there is no timestamp on the node. And then I've realized that you have to actually let the build finish, because otherwise all of these nodes just go away, so they don't exist on the next run. So we have to...
I can tell a story now.
Yes, tell us.
I have a knife story too.
So whoa! I don't know where do we. Is it safe for work?
So we were down at Trinidad, and we've been to the carnival there. Oh no! Paul has something. Let's read Paul. Let's read Paul. I'll read him. This might be one for Vart, but createNode has createNode manifest, which I think you can use to pass additional information. The docs say it's unstable though, so look out.
Look out.
I use that createNode manifest on my sanity thing.
It looks like this might not work. It looks like there's a flaw in my logic. Tell your story and I'll do some probing.
All right. So we are... so it's the Pirates of the Caribbean. They were mostly there on the north side of the Caribbean, but this is on down south. That's down south, and Trinidad is all the way down south. And we had been there on the carnival for a week or something, and my ship was actually on land. It was on the land. And we needed a holiday, so we went out, a bunch of people. Henrik, Uncle Henrik, as we call him now, and a young lady called Camilla. You met her, haven't you?
I think so. I think I met her. I am listening, even though I'm looking at my phone.
And then we had Uncle Alistair, as we call him now. He's my training buddy, and his two singing companions. There were 4 guys on his ship, and actually 5 kind of, but there were only 3 of them going, and they were all singing. So this one singer guy, he was actually the captain of Uncle Alistair's ship. He went on the plane and he brought a knife, because we were going into Venezuela up in the mountains, and then we were going hiking in the mountains. So he was like, I got this good knife. I'm going to bring it. I don't want to walk around town buying a knife, and I have a perfectly good knife. So
how did this go? I feel like there's a twist coming.
I'm telling you, this airport was quite small there. It was a quite small airport in at Trinidad. And he basically just, where they check your luggage and everything, and they have the security guards. He just went up to this one guy and showed him the knife, and he was totally cool. He was like, can I hold it? I was like, wow, this is beautiful. It was like a folding knife thing. It was actually a really nice one. So I was like, dude, why do you bring that? What if they take it? And he was like, wow, look at this. And he was like, hey, waving over the other security guy, look at this, buddy, it's beautiful, look at this knife here. And they were like, and then after a while he was like, well, so can I bring it? What do you say? And they were like, yeah, bring it. And no problem, dude, just bring it. And then he was like, okay, so when I come to Venezuela then. And they were like, oh, yeah, that's true. Oh, don't show it to them. No. So he was like, oh, okay. But he actually did bring it. And I don't remember how he got it through, but he got it through. He got it through both ways, back and forth. And It was a different time, you know.
That's a different time. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It was
You're
2000.
getting
It was a
old
different
and
time.
gray beard. Look at that. You got
It
your
was
gray beard. Look at that. I got my
yeah,
gray
yeah.
hair.
But
We're gonna be the
it was
grandparents of tech
2000.
soon. I'm just kidding.
And we brought the knife over, and we all laughed at him at the plane. Is like bringing a knife, you know, that's crazy. And then we came over to Venezuela, and we've been out sailing for months and months. We didn't read the newspapers, and they had a coup in Venezuela or
Ugh.
something. So the whole countryside, like the whole coastline, was lawless. And when we came into Caracas, the capital, it was really like, you know, how you can feel that, like in Western movies, when you walk
Mm-hmm.
into town, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and people just close the shutters and they just close their doors and hide. This was like that. We were like, oh man, Morna, we called him Morna. That means like sleepy Morton. Well, his name was Morton, really. Hey Morna, where's your knife, man? And he was like, I have it here. I have it in my pocket.
Okay, so I got it working.
Yes.
Well,
Great.
it doesn't look like it right now, but I had to do a clean because I wasn't creating any new nodes, of
Yeah.
course, because they
Okay.
were
Okay.
but now I've done, so now it's touch YouTube nodes. But if I do a yarn clean,
I'm trying to move my camera here.
if I do yarn clean first, we'll see that it
That's better.
it
I
will
thought it was
create them.
working. Are you building again? Must
Well,
do
I was
another
showing
story?
that it look.
I'll
So
do
no,
another story. Yeah, that's cool.
it's done already. Oh, that's done already. So create YouTube node, and then it creates the YouTube node at thumbnail because these are new nodes because we've done a clean. And then if we do another, oh well, I didn't wait until the bundle ended up, because if I do a yarn develop now, it should be touch. But since we didn't wait until it was done, maybe it doesn't. Yeah, so we have to wait until it's all done. And then if we do another yarn develop, we will see that it's not creating the YouTube nodes. It is just touching them, and we don't get any YouTube thumbnail action happening. But then, Ola, you can tell a story, and we could wait for a minute or two.
Shouldn't this build be very fast now when we're doing all this magic? Image CDM magic is done. It's done.
So if we do it again now, it should
be even faster.
It should be even faster, because now it should just say, oh, I'm just touching these YouTube nodes, and then it's not doing anything extra. So just touch. But the next like interesting step that I want to show is that now it's touch. But if we wait 5 minutes, it's actually going to call out to the API again and create the YouTube nodes again. But since none of the data has changed, it's not going to actually change the it's not going to do all of the stuff in the uncreate node. When we did that first time, it created the nodes, it created thumbnails for us, but then it just touched and nothing more happened. And then this like third thing is when our refresh interval is out, it will recreate the nodes, but because the content digest here has not changed, because that's just our embed data, it will just create a node, and it will not have to go through and create the thumbnails, because it can still keep the thumbnails that it's already created for that node. So let's bring the interval down a little bit to our default interval. We can default it down to like a minute, and then Ola can tell a story.
Yes.
Did you have more? Oh no, but I want to tell you something, because this we didn't do on last stream, and I saw the error after the stream, and I snuck it in. So when we're creating our thumbnail in uncreate node, we're creating a thumbnail with information from our YouTube node.
Yeah.
And I did not have the parent set. And if you don't have a parent set, the next time you do yarn develop, all of these thumbnail nodes are thrown out, because Gatsby's like, nobody touched them, so we're throwing them out. But by saying here that our parent is the YouTube node, when we are talking about these bags, we have these, bags of treasure, our YouTube's videos. we have the bag of treasure. There's a little label, to and from kind of label, imagine for your Christmas presents, but there's a label, and it's got the ID of the node, and then it's got that content digest. And if none of those have changed, then like it doesn't have to recreate, it doesn't have to look in and like do all the stuff. But when it has changed, it will go into onCreateNode, and then we'll create a little baggie that is kind of connected with a string. So it's got that YouTube node, and then by setting parent, you're kind of connecting a string to the video bag so that they are kind of tied together. So when the next time it kind of wants to create the video, it's like, oh, I don't need to recreate this video because I've already created this video node. And I don't have to, and I want to bring along, but I still want to keep it, and I want to bring along whatever has it as its parents, whatever is tied to it. And that way we don't lose the thumbnails. But if we don't have any connection here, the thumbnails are going to be thrown out because they haven't been touched, because they don't know that their parent has been touched.
But it's a relationship, this too, right?
Yes, but a node can only have one parent.
Oh, we have a question. Very good. We love it. What? Oh, I missed something from John here.
It
didn't show up on YouTube. Wow. Why? Here, I read it. Why doesn't it use the initial ID that's there instead of the parent?
Are we talking? I think I need a little bit more information, George. Are we talking about the here we are creating a YouTube thumbnail. We're creating a YouTube thumbnail node, and we are using the node ID that comes in on createNode. So that would be the YouTube node's ID, because we're in onCreateNode and we are checking to see if the node is a YouTube node, and it is. Then we are creating the thumbnail node, and then we're giving the parent is going to be the ID that is coming in here through that node on Gatsby Utils. So this is a part of onCreateNode, so it doesn't have access to the node that we have created up here. The node ID were created up here in our prep YouTube node. If that makes sense. Ask more if I didn't understand your question. But now I've talked enough, so we can check to see if it's working again.
Okay, good.
If you develop now
how
in
long
my
did it
mind.
take? 16 seconds? No, 24. 24. Okay.
So now we are saying that, okay, our nodes aren't touched. They're trying to be recreated, but then we have, so it's trying to create a node with the node ID that we've set and the content digest that we have set. But then it looks at the bag. It looks at all of the bags in the data layer. It looks at all the bags, and then it's like, well, I have a bag here with the same ID and the same content digest. Let's not recreate this bag. Let's just keep this bag that we already have and put it over here, and we're going to keep it. And then it's like, oh, but there's a little ribbon here over to the thumbnail. It's connected to this thumbnail. So, okay, we're going to bring this thumbnail over here, the thumbnail bag over here, into nodes that are to be kept. So you can keep nodes either by creating them like they're totally new and we create them, or we go into our data layer and we find one that is exactly the same as the one we're trying to make, and then bring with it everything that has it as its parents, and we bring it over to the side here where all of the nodes that we want to keep are. And then when Gatsby's done doing all of this build stuff, it throws away all of the baggies that, like all the bags of treasure that we don't need anymore.
Yep.
And that's because we're in the digital world, right? So we don't have to like recreate things that we already have. Like we know that they're the same, right? So yeah. Oh, it looks like George got his answer to his question. So all of this code is on GitHub. I'm going to try to put it in the description below, because if you want to follow along, we're going to be doing a lot more on source plugins, and we're probably going to be using this plugin as our kind of go-to to test out different things. So if you want to learn more about it, like familiarize yourself with the code of the Gatsby Source YouTube embed, because then you can ask questions that after like playing around with the code, it's often easier to ask even more specific questions.
Yes.
I don't know if this is a good, like my last YOLO here, I don't know if this is a good or recommended way of doing it. I saw that Paul said this thing about create node manifest. So what I will do is that I will create a separate PR from this latest YOLO code where we're setting the timestamp on the node, but we're not making it a part of the digest. And I'll make that a separate pull request, and then maybe ask Wart or Kyle to have a look at it to see like which of these strategies would be the best to save the timestamp in the cache or to save the timestamp on the node. So we could get it straight from the horse's mouth. Is that not what it's called?
Yeah, that's weird. That's a weird saying. So Sanity has gotten the image CDN support now for their plugin. I'm using that plugin in my own personal website, so I'll try it out sometime. No promises on when, but they do the manifesting here that Paul talked about.
Okay, we'll have to have a look at that then.
No create, no manifest. They do that, and but I don't remember any timestamp stuff because I didn't get that much into the Sanity thing. To be honest, I just did what Vespa told
but
me.
I'm absolutely
little. Yeah.
I'm absolutely going to have a look at both the Sanity plugin and the Contentful plugins and the WordPress plugins to see a little bit like how they do these things and the different strategies, because those are the oldest, I guess, and most used plugins, largest source
Sanity
plugins. Sanity and Contentful and WordPress are like there
is a top 12 list, Vart said, so you should check it out.
Okay, I'll check it out. And then see how they do these things, because sometimes it's not only one way to do it correctly, right? There's several ways to do it correctly. So, anyway, and that is I really like that with these, most of these source plugins are open source. So it's possible to actually go and look and see what others have done to solve these issues. Okay.
I have a plug.
That was some YOLO there at the end. So yeah.
I have a plug. I have a total plug.
Yes. Do you want me to add you to the screen?
Do you worry your favorite user is waiting for slow builds because of your Gatsby source plugin? Yes. That's exactly what we've been working on here.
Yes.
And it's called done. No, you don't see my arrow now. I only see it. That's kind of stupid.
Done, it's the green text. We can see it.
Done for you, image CDN upgrade. Done for you, image CDN upgrade of your Gatsby source plugin. So it's basically, you should worry about this. You should, because you probably are slowing down the build of your users with your plugin. And yes, imagine every build finishing so much faster. Your favorite user can feel it.
I love this copy, Ola.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yep, I wrote it myself. So
look at John has made an acronym for us.
Oh man. I'm just reading it out. I don't know what it means. So it's GMTOWTSAC.
I think maybe it is your done for you.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Or something.
Yes, it is.
Probably. Almost.
Yeah, that's great. So
or not.
And also, John has this here. What does it mean? It's an emoji that I don't recognize.
It's a soap emoji. We're cleaning.
Oh.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
So I don't think this page is live yet, but we are working on it. So if you use one of the smaller CMSs and you see that they lack the time to add image CDN support themselves, you can send them our way and we'll do it for them. And we'll take you along for the ride. And it's a paid product, by the way.
You know how it is. It's a little bit like me and the Queen, It's easy for the Queen to fix this here image CDN. And after she did it, I went and did it again and again. Here. You see these exclamation marks is every time I do it again and again for each day. And it's a little bit like that for the CMSs. They got lots of other stuff to do and maybe they don't have time to do it again and again, to specialize in this stuff as we do. So you should
and this
keep
is
us off.
just a warm-up, because over this on the ladder, there will be done for you source plugins. So if
Yes.
you need a source plugin, we can create the source plugin for you, and then we'll obviously throw in image CDN if we make it from scratch. But if you already have a source plugin, we can add image CDN support for you,
And it's going to
so
cost
you can be one of the first.
$1 million.
That's gonna cost $1 million.
Oh, look, my arrows are not good here, but
I know that happens sometimes with the markdown, because it's like it makes a paragraph, and I don't always understand. Like sometimes I just copy paste it again, and then they jump on the same line.
Oh,
anyway, John says
4,500. It's a bargain for this image CDN, but the full thing is gonna cost $1 million. Okay, yeah, I'll read it. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Meow.
Yeah. So that was the acronym that he gave us. I was like, yeah, that wasn't our thing.
So Lillian said,
I think that was it. Or do we
a little less loud?
I am ready for a summary, because otherwise I think I will just, when I get tired, I cannot stop talking, and Ula is a little bit the same way. So if we don't wrap this up, we'll just sit there talking for another hour.
What? Simplify code. And first we did this here. Deterministic was the why.
I'm gonna get my
You
code
actually
back
did something before that, didn't you? What was that?
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do the same thing as the last.
Yes.
I'm gonna get the GitHub up, the PR that I created yesterday, and then go through the changes we made.
Tell me what it is. I'll write it up here too. What is the first thing? What was that?
Yeah, the topic for the stream that we did in the middle of this stream, I guess, was to
yes,
the what
simplify.
Was simplify,
and it was deterministic. So that was the okay. You do that first.
How.
Cool. Yeah, great. On POW. Deterministic IDs.
Yes.
Yes.
The what? No, we're utilizing the deterministic. The what is utilized, so they're the other way around.
So deterministic is on top, and Y is simplify the code. I get it. It is totally okay because I have sticky notes, so I just move them around. What? Deterministic IDs, Y simplify code.
And then the how. So let me share my screen then.
How.
So what we did is that we no longer needed to save in our cache the relationship between the original YouTube ID and then the node ID that we had created earlier. So we simplified that by just using the YouTube node ID that we are create node ID with the same input will create the same output. So we create a new node ID, no matter if it's a new node or not. We don't know if it's a new YouTube video, if it's been sourced before or not. We don't know. So we create the node ID for it. We ask our cache for the timestamp. Then we grab the existing node if there's an existing node. And then we also calculate an existing node age with the existing node age with the timestamp we got from the cache. And then we could delete, like we didn't need to have this like weird split because all you can save in the cache is strings. So I created this kind of convention where I had the node ID and the timestamp separated by a split ASCII. So all of that, poof, gone. And as you can see on the cache set, we are then using the YouTube node ID, and then we just set the date now, and we don't have to kind of keep both the YouTube original ID around and the YouTube node ID around. So that was a lot of code gone. Let's see what it says.
Great job.
Give me a summary of all of it.
Great job.
I lost that. Usually it says like 14 lines, or it says like how much was gone, but now I can't find that.
How much code did you remove? It's not the amount of letters in the code that matters. It's the complexity, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So, but anyway, it's always nice to see it when you can delete code. Code that's not there cannot be buggy.
Yep.
So that's what we did. And housekeeping, sign up for the newsletter if you haven't.
Yeah.
we're taking a 2-week break because next week I will be on a plane back to Norway. The week after is the school holidays, and both the emails and the streams and everything will be on hold during school holidays, which is the Lily Labs policy. Ola might stream though because he likes to work, but I will not work during school holidays. So yeah, over Easter break there will be no emails, no stream, and then next week there will be no stream because I will be on an airplane. But Ula's Sunday streams will still be here, and then he has also started doing some streams with Jed, his good friend from America, on Wednesday, where they do some code review on POW, I guess.
For 2 o'clock is Central European time.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Central
in the
European
mornings.
summertime.
It's in. Oh, John Hansen! Look at this. Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, he's waiting.
I'm gonna screenshot. Okay.
Okay.
Can you laugh and smile? Oh, that was the best screenshot. Yeah, so that was all for today. See you in 3 weeks. What date is that?
Say the date. Yeah.
Well, I don't even know.
I have my book here. Let's see who finds it first. And 21st.
And okay, the 21st.
Isn't that right? Isn't that, since it's 31 now, that's 3 weeks? Yeah. 21st.
Yes.
21st. Same time.
And then we also have some really cool. We have some cool guests
who's
lined up. Well, it's not. So I realized that's not until May 5th. But on May 5th, the founder of Scraping Bee will be on, and we will create a source plugin that scrapes, I think, Crowdcast for our webinars because they don't have an API. So we'll just scrape their HTML, and we'll do that. Pierre. Yes.
Pierre. He's French.
And then he's French.
Whoa, I like it.
Yes. So I think there will be a focus on sourcing, and plugins will be the focus going forward. And then we'll throw in some random front end stuff every now and then, just to keep it fun. And I cannot stop talking because I'm tired. So
I have a last message.
Yes.
Lilian, du må komme. Jo, du trenger ikke å være med. Du må ikke være med.
The princess does not want to join.
Og synge, jeg skal synge. Nei, da sier du nei. Da gjør du ut. Nei, det går fint. Okay.
What's the last message?
She says, no, but I will play myself. Because this instrument here, I love music, and I'm not that good with instruments, but this one is my favorite right now. I just turned a little handle. But the last message is, the Pirate Princess asked me, can I get a book with pictures in it up here? And I said, yeah, just go on the bookshelf and find one. And she found this. It's got amazing pictures. I'm not joking.
That was your start.
I started out here. Look at this. Anton Lama. Alpaca, I mean. Sorry about that.
Oh.
That's a great drawings. This guy, it's a guy from Yugoslavia somewhere that's been making the drawings. Yes, this is a great book by Nick Morgan. Okay, so I'm gonna do the goodbye thing. Okay, Lilian, du kan sitte der og blåse. Vil du det? Lilian, du kan sitte der og blåse.
Okay, I'm gonna make you big. I'm sorry.
Lilian, stopp. Du kan ombestemme deg og bli med hvis du vil. This has been another unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with Queen Raae. I'm your host, Captain Uravia. Today's guest was Pirate Princess Lilian. And next time will be the 21st.
Yes!
Bye!
I'll miss you.
I'll miss you too.